Hi everyone, welcome to School of Scarlet. I have another intuitive message coming through. So what's coming through is I'm actually out here in my backyard and it's kind of like the sun's going down. It's feeling really nice right now, but there's mosquitoes everywhere. And we just had Hurricane Beryl over here, so there's tons of water and stuff everywhere. So the mosquitoes are out. And the mosquitoes can be quite an annoyance. So what's coming through is kind of a message for anyone that's experiencing these annoyances in life right now, or possibly like a disruption in life. So what I'm seeing is like when I was out of power or electricity for quite a while, that was a disturbance that happened. And so what's coming through is that was what was happening. It was just something that happened. We couldn't really control that situation. Sometimes we're in these situations that are totally out of our control. And so what I'm seeing is that it's time to kind of just go with it, go with the flow, just like I had to do without the electricity. There wasn't much we could do about that. So we just kind of go with it, roll with it. And our real human nature, a lot of times, is to get very upset, is to get very bothered, is to get like very irritated with things. And so, what the message is coming through right now is to allow some of this irritation to be there, to be okay with some of that irritation being there. Because the nature of things has both, like what you would call the good and the bad to it. So everything has both sides. The very nicest of person, the person that you absolutely love to death, could also be the same person that you absolutely hate. They have both of those qualities in them. Everything does. What's also coming through is a wasp. So just recently, I was looking at properties, some different properties and stuff my husband were looking at. And so we were walking through kind of a pretty wooded piece of property. And it wasn't like we could see what was going on. And so we were worried about snakes. And then all of a sudden, I walk through what's a wasp's nest. And so a few wasps come up and they sting me. I get stung 4 times, and my husband's walking behind me. He gets stung about 10 times. Well, we do survive this thing. We're able to come back to a safe area and get some ice and, water and things like that. And we survived this thing. But this is an amazing piece of property. And if we had really been very bothered by these wasps, what's coming through is kind of this person that buys a piece of property and learns that there's wasps or gets exposed to them like we did and just wants to eradicate them. So now, instead of enjoying that piece of property and really camping on it or whatever was the plan for it, now the whole story is, how will we eradicate every wasp? And what's coming through is also like a snake. So it could be the same as if you came upon a property or something that had snake there, and you just worried the whole entire time about a snake being there. But the snake was only there maybe once. It's not like there's a bunch of snakes, but your focus is on this annoyance, on this disturbance. And what's being called, or the message that's coming through, is to pull back from the annoyance or disturbance and see the greater, grander picture. This is just a small thing, and this is actually sometimes just the very nature of things. So it's not something that we have to fight with. It's not something that we have to go against. It's not something that we have to resist. We can allow it safely to happen. Even like the wasp stings happened. I mean, they really did happen to us. We could have gotten hurt. Yes, that could happen. But then we would have just went with that next thing of, let's say we ended up in the hospital. So what's being called here is to really reflect, and what's coming through is know thyself. Know thyself as the greater being that you are. So know thyself. The other thing that's coming through is that these disturbances, these things that happen, are truly just the nature of things. So a wasp is going to be a wasp. If we sat there and convinced the wasp not to be a wasp, it would never happen. A snake is going to be a snake. It's going to do snake things. It's going to be in snake environments, and it's going to do what it does to protect itself. So a snake is going to be a snake. And if we sit there and try to convince it otherwise, to be something different or do something different, that's never going to happen. We're going to be deeply unhappy and in suffering and totally distracted from the beauty of what is going on here and now in this moment. So that's what's coming through right now, is that there is something going on, and it's all coming out about knowing thyself. So everything that's happening, we're all very different. We're getting a lot of different images coming through of people who are very unique. We're seeing lots of people with autism. We're seeing lots of people with ADHD, but portrayed on TV and just many other different things. That's not the only ones. But we're seeing how people are different. We're understanding that people have different natures. And it's not really that we need to change their nature. It's not like if someone has autism, we have to change that or get that, take that away from them. We realize that that is their nature. That's how they came into this world. So really what we're doing here is really just allowing that to happen and really creating a sense of acceptance, really, because, I really worked with kids that had autism and things like that. And it really, a lot of it is, yes, we do have to teach some things that maybe they're, behind on and things like that. But a lot of it is very much social. It's really showing others how they are. And so, as a teacher in my classroom, we did have children that had autism and many other different conditions at that time. And what we did, and what most schools do now, is inclusion. So, every student that had any special condition was in the classroom. And, that child really was allowed to be themselves. It wasn't like I, as a teacher, was changing that child's behavior at all. That child, had certain things. There was a child there that could only and would only sit in one seat. Although we didn't have assigned seats, that child was only comfortable sitting in that one seat. And we really had to get to know the nature of this child. And I had to share that with the classroom, and the classroom agreed. They understood that that particular child needed that seat. So even though maybe somebody else wanted that seat and there was no seating arrangement, they respected that child, even at a preschool age. So that's what you're being called to today, whether it's doing this for yourself or showing and teaching this to others. Many of you, what's coming through is that you are already teaching others, that you are already kind of helping others to move forward with their gifts, and that this is maybe a message that you will share with others. So you're being also called to help others to deal with any annoyances and disturbances that happen. I mentioned this a lot in my videos, that there is a quote somewhere, and something about, if we're so, if the world was just, rather than carpeting the whole world, why not just put on some sandals and then walk out? So that's kind of what the energy is coming through right now, that rather than trying to change the whole world, the nature of things, why not change the reaction to those things, the perception to those things, see the wider view of what's happening in that situation, how you can really step back from it. And there will be people in your lives. What I'm also sensing coming through is that there's some people questioning, saying, well, how can I accept the nature of someone in my life that belittles me, or that has bullied me, or a family member that I don't feel comfortable with, or something like that? That's what's coming through. And so what's really being said here, what I'm sensing is coming through, is that that is the nature of that person. Okay, so there are sometimes some situations that will not change. It really truly is the nature of that person. So there was a woman that we knew, and she was very kind of lonely. It seemed like she lived by herself. She was an older woman, and her daughter would come visit her here and there, but she couldn't visit her that often. But every time she would visit, she would insist that her mother get a dog. And so the majority of those visits were her insisting, Mom, you're so lonely. You need to get a dog. Please, Mom, let me get you a dog. How can I get you a dog? Let me help you set up everything. I'll get insurance for the dog. So every time it was all about how Mom needed this dog. And Mom kept telling her daughter, I don't need a dog. I do not need a dog. I don't want a dog. I truly am fine. I do not need a dog. And sometimes what's happening is that we're projecting, or we're seeing something in someone else that we would like for ourselves, or makes us happy. Not understanding that their nature, it can be very different than us. Yes, dogs can bring, for example, if they bring me a lot of joy. I don't see, life without a dog really. So, I want to project that something onto someone. I want to give them that joyful experience of having a dog. But you see, not everyone would get joy from a dog. So that's also just a story to point to that the nature of people sometimes is just there. It's already kind of fixed in some ways. And so the only thing we can really do is kind of look at ourselves and see about ourselves, not wanting to change other people's nature. We can change our own. We can deal with our own things to some extent. Um, but changing other people's nature is really outside of our realm, and really a distraction, because if you really look at that, all those times that that daughter was visiting her mother, she actually wasn't having conversations and getting to know her mother and being, in the moment with her mother. She was outside the moment, projecting into the future, into the past, about what she thinks should happen and why. So we really need to stay in this moment and really look at those things, any annoyances and things that are coming up. trying to kind of look at those and see if there's some way that we can look at those differently, if there's some way that we can kind of let those kind of go, because it can really be hard to go around life and allow every little disturbance to annoy us, because life is ever changing. Life is difficult, and sometimes, and annoyances and disturbances happen all of the time. So when we go out of our house, just as soon as we're driving our car, we might come upon someone that's driving really slow or doing something, driving incorrectly in some way. And instantly that irritates us and infuriates us. So that's also a call to look at those things and see how those things are actually not such a big deal. It's more of a big deal if we allow them to kind of fester in us and to make us angry. So this is kind of a call to look at that these things just happen. And if we just allow them to pass, we have a better time. We have a more joyous time, and we can kind of live our life fully in a way that's not bringing us down. If we let every little thing bring us down, we're going to be hot or cold here, or, this person said this to us, or, whatever. If every little annoyance really just brings us down that low, how can we bring forth our vision? How can we bring forth light in this world? So you're being called to bring light. You're being called to really focus on yourself. You're being called to be selfish. You're being called to keep that energy that's yours within you and to really cultivate it, allow it to be part of you, and get to know thyself. So that is the message that is coming through. I hope that this message was helpful to you. If it resonated with you, comment down below, give me a thumbs up or a heart if it resonated with you. If it didn't resonate with you, that's all right. Just take what did or didn't, and I'll catch you on the next video. I love you all.